The 1990s ended April 5th, 2002, and it ended with the release of Big Trouble, a mostly panned action comedy that came and went from theaters without much notice. It's a film with an amazing pedigree. Directed by Barry Sonnenfeld, one of Hollywood's most powerful but inconsistent directors, and nimbly adapted from the hilarious debut novel of Pulitzer Prize-winning humor columnist Dave Barry. It was packed with huge stars like Tim Allen and Rene Russo, and delivers a story about a nuclear bomb that is in of itself an exercise in comedic nuclear fission, but it made no cultural impact. It may have even made negative impact. If you remember Big Trouble at all, it's probably because of its delay from a September release the previous year, only to be abandoned with no promotion and no fanfare to total box office destruction. Or maybe you just remember the toad. Sometimes a movie is more than just a bomb. Sometimes it arrives pre-scrubbed from the American consciousness. But Big Trouble is worth remembering, and if you do have a faint recollection of it, it's better than you remember. Barry Sonnenfeld has had a weird career, huh? He started out as the cinematographer for the Coen brothers, then broke out with a dizzying 1-2 punch of Addams Family movies. He followed those up by codifying the Elmore Leonard comedy with Get Shorty, put a pin in that, and then Men in Black catapulted him to fame, and rightfully so. It's a perfect comedy. Perfect movie, even. Over the course of a decade, Sonnenfeld made a name for himself as a visual stylist with a natural instinct for comedic blocking, inventive camera placement, drawing crackling performances out of actors, and naturally integrating visual effects in innovative ways. He was the perfect Hollywood comedy machine. But after Men in Black, things got weird. Maybe he got too hot, too in demand. Will Smith carried him from Men in Black over to Wild Wild West, a notorious disaster where nobody except Kevin Kline came out unscathed. After that metaphorical and literal train wreck, wait, does that movie have a train wreck in it? Impossible to answer. No one who's ever seen it can hold it in their heads long enough to document. Anyway, after the smoke cleared from the wreckage of Wild Wild West, and before the looming disaster of Men in Black 2, Sonnenfeld went back to the film that defined him before Men in Black. Get Shorty. You get a handful of stars, a bunch of character actors and rising young talent, and you do a big ensemble thing where everybody gets a chance to shine. Make it cheaper, make it grounded, maybe a little satirical. But where do you find the next Get Shorty? For that, we'd need to take a trip to Miami. Dave Barry is a Pulitzer Prize-winning humor columnist from Florida who got wildly popular in the Reagan era while working at the Miami Herald. His columns lampooned modern existence through the heightened persona of a quote-unquote everyday guy. Ask your parents, they love Dave Barry. I also love Dave Barry, though I am not your parents. He had a knack for fundamentally understanding the absurdity of life in the 80s and 90s, and his columns had already been used to create a pretty successful sitcom, Dave's World. It's okay. I consumed more Dave Barry as a kid than is strictly speaking healthy. He wasn't for me, though. He wrote a newspaper column, for God's sake. Who still reads those? Newspapers, I mean. Boomers, that's who. And Dave was the boomer sage. He was unparalleled in his ability to articulate the incomprehensible eccentricities of existing in a singularly unhinged age, and crystallize those eccentricities into somewhat irrational thought, seemingly creating structure and meaning out of the inherent meaninglessness of American society. There's an exasperatedly sarcastic absurdism to Barry, and Miami is the vessel by which he most purely examines this worldview. Dave Barry hates Miami, calls it a festering plot, and he loves it, and he can't live without it, and will probably never leave it if I'm being honest. And that unhealthy addiction to baking his brain in the steam oven of American society seeps into everything he writes. On the heels of a nasty divorce, and in a bit of a transition period of his life and his career, it came time for Dave to write his first novel, and his apocalyptically skewed vision of Miami became both setting and subject. Big Trouble as a book is messy and imperfect, but it's a great, sprawling entry into his self-described South Florida wackos genre, and it's filled with a lifetime's worth of sharply observed specificity that props up its expansive cast, anchored by its main character, a recently divorced former humor columnist trying to raise his kid while he tries his hand at a business that may not entirely suit him. Write what you know. The screenplay for the film, written by Intolerable Cruelty screenwriters Robert Ramsey and Matthew Stone, is a fairly lean and straightforward adaptation of the novel. If your idea of a great adaptation is a faithful retelling of the source material, this is the movie for you. Barry's writing style is already incredibly cinematic, and the buoyant charm of his prose is replicated on screen in the dialogue and the way the increasingly farcical action is handled. We follow the story of Elliot Arnold, that former newspaper columnist I mentioned earlier, as he tries to navigate raising a son who hates him while he is inadvertently caught in the middle of a poorly planned caper involving a couple of low-rent ex-cons, a pair of hitmen, a sleazy businessman, that businessman's desperate wife, sullen stepdaughter and long-suffering housekeeper, a hallucinogenic toad, some goats, a homeless guy who lives in a tree, the FBI, Russian mobsters, the Miami PD, and, I am not making this up, a giant metal suitcase containing a nuclear bomb. It gets weirder from there. One of the softball critiques of this film is that it's a stale retread of Get Shorty tonally, but having rewatched Get Shorty in preparation for this video, that critique misses the mark. It's a perfectly fine Elmore Leonard adaptation, sure, and it's filled with great performances from some of our best 90s actors, but it's missing something. And what it's missing is warmth. And that's the key element that really brings Sonnenfeld's filmmaking to life here. Dave Barry's work is more sentimental, more earnest than Elmore Leonard's. And in a genre that's often drier and more reserved than it needs to be, he's never afraid to go broad and goofy. I mean, the man literally wrote a book called Boogers Are My Beat, for crying out loud. Sonnenfeld takes the lessons of working on a more organized story like Get Shorty and uses them to his advantage. He takes Barry's cluttered, manic energy and transforms the wild chaos of the novel into a well-oiled punchline delivery machine. From the running gag about the nuclear suitcase...
Looks like a garbage disposal.
Looks like a garbage disposal.
What is this?
Garbage disposal.
Bag check. Garbage disposal.
Portable.
The extended bit about Gators fans who may or may not be calling...
I'm a Gator fan, and I'm calling.
And what do you have to say?
Well, you said we don't have the guts to call, and I'm calling.
Might as well have a bucket over my head.
Keep walking and don't do nothing stupid in there.
As far as I'm concerned, this whole idea is stupid.
I think we got Gator fans.
Your attention, please. Captain Lynch has informed us that there will be a delay due to an obstruction on the runway.
Matt and Andrew's terrible, dangerous water gun killer game.
Is that a squirt gun in your pocket, or were you happy to see me?
Snake and Eddie's poor choice of face coverings.
$18!
And the extended consequences of Arthur Hurt getting sprayed in the face by a hallucinogenic toad.
Oh my God, she knows my name! She knows everything! She's coming to take my soul!
All of the storylines and fun little side characters weave in and out of the narrative with grace, and Sonnenfeld juggles all of the time delay running gags and callbacks with a steady, assured rhythm that feels confident, but not oppressive. For such a high-stakes piece of storytelling, the tone comes off as breezy, delightful, and supremely cozy. Some of that may be nostalgia, sure, but we're also in the hands of one of the most ridiculously talented casts in flop history here, Tim Allen notwithstanding. Say what you will about Sonnenfeld's overall career, but his casting is always impeccable. Big Trouble is the perfect combination of one enormous star alongside a who's who of prominent character actors and bright young prospects who are using the film as a chance to work with a kingmaker and hone their comedic personas. Much like my Mystery Men video, this could be yet another spot where I just start listing names to make the point sink in about how abundant with talent this film is, but it's honestly worth mentioning just about everyone here, so I'll try to make it quick. Tim Allen has only ever been good in the Toy Story movies and Galaxy Quest, come at me chuds, but Sonnenfeld elevates him here. Toy Story and Galaxy Quest both trade on Allen's inherent unlikability in different ways, but Big Trouble tries to create sympathy out of that same equation, and it mostly works. While he may be the star of the movie as far as billing is concerned, he's mostly just the anchor of the ensemble here, and as Elliot Arnold, Dave Barry's self-insert patriarch, he manages to spin that persona of America's boomer conservative dad into comedic gold for once. Seriously, don't go back to Home Improvement, it's awful. And Barry Sonnenfeld brings back Rene Russo from Get Shorty, too. When is she bad? Never, that's when. She makes a meal out of a part that's less impactful than it should be, where her character Jenny Herc is mostly just moping, running, or making goo-goo eyes at Tim Allen for most of the movie. The cast is split up like this into platonic and romantic pairs, and their contrasting energies define the comedic thrust of the film. Zooey Deschanel and Ben Foster, who play Jenny and Elliot's kids, are both giving broad, silly Gen X teen performances here in the nascent stages of their respective careers. Foster, who's an actor that is generally a giant exposed nerve, has some Seth Green energy to him, while Deschanel has dialed into something akin to live-action Daria with a near-constant stream of dour one-liners.
Can I borrow this? I'm totally into the seminal fluids. Arthur threw mine out at the car wash. He doesn't think it's music unless somebody's playing an accordion.
So what's the plan? To the front? Yeah, it's Matt Arnold. I'm here to kill your daughter, Jenny. Now we gotta go over the wall, Weed.
What do you think?
I think you guys should turn yourselves in and plead not guilty by reason of stupidity.
Tom Sizemore and Johnny Knoxville are an iconic duo as Snake and Eddie, a couple of small-time street thugs who get in way over their heads in the whole nuclear bomb business, and they're both perfect examples of finding comedic brilliance in unexpected places. Before Barry Sonnenfeld, Johnny Knoxville was really only the jackass guy, but he had something to him, an inherent charisma. He's so naturally genuine and sweet, and plays the sleazy innocent so well. We should cast Knoxville as an idiot with a heart of gold more. He's so charming here.
Buckle up, ma'am.
In fact, Sonnenfeld loved his work in Big Trouble so much that he put him in Men in Black 2 as well, which is where most people first saw him as something of a movie star. He's better in this, though. That's not hard. Men in Black 2 is terrible.
Well, we want to arrive in the Bahamas, but we want it apart.
This is a joke, right?
Stop making fun of us, okay?
Sizemore has an intensity to him here that's paired with a real commitment to selling physical comedy. He was always an intense guy, but it feels like comedy shoved him into a typecast and stopped letting him give wild, intense, dramatic performances, and this feels like the turning point.
Okay, let's go. I'm gonna have this pointed right at you, so don't do something stupid.
How would you even know if I did something stupid?
I don't know. Believe me, I can tell the difference.
Dennis Farina, on the other hand, made the transition from serious tough guy cop dramas to comedy almost seamlessly. Sonnenfeld tries to make the Get Shorty magic happen here again, and it totally works. Where Bones Barboni was a bumbling bulldozer, Henry DeSalvo is the straight man of the film, even if he's playing a hired assassin. He represents the real world. There are bits of Dave Barry in all of these characters, but Farina best represents his role as the arbiter of the common-sense social code that is broken by the seemingly supernatural force that is Miami.
I hope you realize you just committed assault.
I know. You know, I remember time was he actually had to hit somebody.
His best moments in Big Trouble are reactions, and he bounces off of his partner, played by Jack Keller, so well. They're a great odd couple. Farina's so serene and unflappable, and Keller is the twitchiest little weirdo alive.
More on number 2. Just got more on number 1 all wet.
Gimme, I ain't never seen that.
And the hits keep coming, folks, because Janine Garofalo and Patrick Warburton are all over this as well, playing a couple of Miami PD officers. They have such brilliant chemistry, it's a shame they split up for the third act, and it's even more of a shame that they were never in a movie with each other again. Warburton is the original himbo in this, and his silly slab of meat energy is off the charts.
They shot my radio!
If you remember, call that number. Tell them Miss Heather Weintraub I might be late.
Walter! Walter!
For my Janine Garofalo takes, watch my Mystery Men video, because all of my points hold true here. She has an undeniable screen presence and has a natural authority that's tough to match in 90s comic actors. Hollywood, and culture at large, did her dirty.
Hey, if you don't uncuff me, you can stick your very important federal matter right up your big federal ass.
Our final pairing? Puggy and Nina, played by Jason Lee and Sofia Vergara. Does anybody else miss Jason Lee? Feels like he left it all behind and isn't looking back. He's the first person we see in this film. He carries the theme, and he's the most dopily affable. His romance with Nina is the purest and silliest of the film, and really hammers home that all anybody wants in this world is a place to lay your head and somebody to love. Puggy is thrown around by all the enormous yearning forces of this movie, people looking for money, for respect, for power, but he's totally unbothered by it. He's happy because his desires are simple. He wants Nina. And Fritos.
You just can't beat these when they're really fresh.
This is Sofia Vergara's first English language role, and that's a little thankless. She gets to be completely doe-eyed for Puggy.
Puggy.
And that's about it. But it's fun to see the beginning of her career that would conquer Hollywood. And all it took was looking wildly uncomfortable while Stanley Tucci slobbered on her feet.
Nina, come out of there. This is my house, you work for me, and I want to suck your toes.
Did I mention Stanley Tucci was in this? And you're getting pure unfiltered Tucci too. Work like we'd never seen from him. Put yourself in a 2002 mindset. This isn't, oh dang, the Tucci is in this? This is that guy from Big Night and A Midsummer Night's Dream is in a comedy. He'd make a bigger splash later that year in Road to Perdition, but I'd argue that without this incredible performance, we'd never get him in The Devil Wears Prada, and we'd never have the Stanley Tucci we know today. He's the standout of the movie, and he plays slimeball creep Arthur Herc so hilariously well that you can't help but love every irredeemable moment that he's on screen, even if you want to see him suffer horribly the entire time. Every single line out of his mouth is solid gold, especially when he's playing the sheer existential panic brought to him by a spray from a hallucinogenic toad. In 1979, Superman made you believe that a man could fly. In 2002, Big Trouble made you believe that a dog with Martha Stewart's head will come to take Stanley Tucci's soul. Mix all of that with great little side characters and guests like Andy Richter as a pair of twin megalomaniacal security guards, DJ Qualls, remember him, as Andrew, Matt's loser best friend, Daniel London and Lars Ahrens Hansen as Russian dive bar owners and weapons dealers who get classic put-upon one-liners.
Aluminum, huh?
We sponsor a girl softball team.
I need a missile.
This is for you. This is a personal missile.
What the flying shit do you care?
Heavy D and Omar Epps as a pair of too cool for school FBI agents who somehow break through the sheen of 90s dopiness with a chilling glimpse into our dystopian future, Cullen Douglas and Flip Schultz as increasingly anxious budget airline pilots, and an amazing gauntlet of pain from character actor Michael McShane, who plays the crass client in the first scene and is berated and tortured in every subsequent appearance he makes. And you have the recipe for a comedy that's very, very crowded with funny people. But if a nuclear bomb of comedy goes off in the middle of the ocean and nobody's there to see it, does it make a mushroom cloud? I said that Big Trouble came out in April of 2002, but that isn't the whole story. You see, this film, one centered around a plane hijacking, a nuclear suitcase bomb, and the utter giddy nonchalance with which a ridiculous disaster could befall the United States of America, was scheduled for release September 21st, 2001. You know, 2 weeks after 9/11. And Disney, who owns Touchstone, totally panicked. And reasonably so. The country wasn't prepared to giggle at a silly little nuclear bomb comedy when they were all oversaturated with grief and jingoistic rage. The studio looked at this movie. They looked at the marketing. They looked at the reaction it would have, and they quietly pushed their $40 million suitcase bomb comedy off the table and into the trash. But because this was 2001 and not 2024 where whole movies can just get disappeared as tax write-offs, they still had to, release the film in theaters. So it finally came out on April 5th, 2002 to mediocre reviews on less than 2,000 screens with almost no promotion. Over its 3-week run, it made $7 million. Sorry, I forgot the overseas box office. Over the lifetime of its release, Big Trouble made $8 million. Total. Worldwide.
Business very bad.
It's bad location.
Big Trouble was sent to theaters to die, or at the very least to be forgotten as quickly as humanly possible, and its stumbling, stunted release marks the brick wall end of the 1990s culturally. It was the last comedy of its generation to sneak through, the last piece of pop culture that existed in the before times, steeped in that simpler, more naive aesthetic and story sensibility. And in that way, it's sweetly trivial. It's carefree and happy, and it lives in a world that's preoccupied with the minutiae of daily life, treating our everyday reality as a pleasantly amusing nuisance that's full of possibility. It has no global sensibility, unbothered by the world outside of its own little bubble. It doesn't have anything to worry about. It's the 90s. It exists at the end of history where everything is meaningless, so everything is at least a little bit funny. Sure, the humor is mostly situational and most of the characters are broad, ridiculous archetypes, but this thing isn't trafficking in nuance and subtlety. It's supposed to be light. It's supposed to be diverting. So in that way, it's understandable why it went relatively unremarked upon by most, and somewhat derided by the critics who did see it. The very same qualities that make it refreshing and goofy today served as an unintentionally cruel reminder in the hazy, terrible post-9/11 landscape of what we left behind as a society. So nobody mourns Big Trouble. You have to remember something to mourn it. But Big Trouble deserves to be remembered. Fondly even. It's one of the few comedies of its era that's totally interlinked in both form and function. It's a movie where the center of the story revolves around a nuclear bomb, and the comedy itself is an exercise in hilariously explosive nuclear fission. Like all the best farces, one random collision causes a series of coincidences and happenstances until it cascades into an uncontrollable explosion of comedy. So give this one a try if you can track it down. It's not deep, it's not life-changing, but it's a short, pleasant window to a brighter, sillier world that ended in tragedy and only got darker. But even if we can't go back, it's still nice to visit. And we'll always have Martha.
Make her stop! God in heaven, make her stop! She wants my soul! Arugula! Arugula! Arugula!
Thank you all for watching Too Many Tapes. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit the bell icon to get updates for when I upload videos. Did you see Big Trouble in theaters? There are literally dozens of us. Let me know in the comments. If you want to help out a small YouTube channel, consider donating $1 or more a month to my Patreon. For just $2 a month, you get early access to my videos, and I invest every penny you send me into tapes, movies, and equipment for the show, so you quite literally fund the whole project. If you donate $50 or more a month, you're the kingpin, and you'll never let go of the kingpin suitcase, and you get a movie recommendation. This month, for Cammy, I'm recommending Barry Sonnenfeld's first foray into feature-length cinematography, as well as the Coen brothers' first feature, Blood Simple. It's a pulpy little noir with great performances by M. Emmett Walsh and Frances McDormand. Genuinely fun to see how fully formed both the Coens and Barry Sonnenfeld arrived. And for Natto Kitsch, I'm recommending Barry Sonnenfeld's 2016 comedy 9 Lives, a film which has no star. This is penance. You know what you did. For $10 or more a month, you know my name. You know everything. You come to take my soul. If I make your names pretty big in the credits, will you promise not to take my soul? And for $5 a month, you're Gators fans, and you're calling. And you get early access to my videos. Thank you all again for watching, and I'll see you next time on Too Many Tapes.
I really feel like killing somebody.
Got that right.